So that's something. That's the transference to the real. You take something out of it. They want to talk to you. And for me, what? My phone? One? We only have one. Take. I have nothing. What I was saying?
Transference to the real.
Transference to the real. Transference to the ethic, if we want to simplify. So the analyst has to get, when young, let's say, young analysts, I have some of them in supervision. I consider myself young, but anyway. When they reach at the point and they tell me this thing that they go to the coffee shops and they speak with friends or other people that they meet there, and they told me something weird happens in a couple of minutes, you know, because they have lost this previous position, their body has a different use there, and they exude this ethic. Even if they're beautiful men or beautiful women, the men or women around them, they are not grasped by the image, by the gaze. And in a matter of minutes, they start talking about issues they have. They never met them. They don't know that they're psychoanalysts. And they talk about their mothers and fathers, and they feel like talking to them. So when analysts in supervision, they start experiencing that. It has nothing to do with sessions. For me, they are in a very good way. So that's the way, because you cannot have psychoanalysis. Sometimes we speak of psychoanalysis foreclosing the psychoanalyst. The psychoanalyst has a name. It's good to have a name. And that's one way to experience if you are the carrier of the ethics, the carrier of the cause. There is nothing to think about, there is no plan for that. It just happens because you get decomposed, because you work in orientation. You have your analysis, you have your supervision, and as Lacan says somewhere, he speaks about the threshold in a couple of his papers. And in the ethics of psychoanalysis, he speaks about up to a threshold, that is the formation of analysis. And I believe, and a few other analysts, that it's precisely after the threshold that you can experience this kind of transference. And you don't need to worry about questions of capitalism. How do I get analysis? We have to just follow the orientation of life. That which cannot be said, it's the act. And the act, it's a breath. It's not, you cannot say anything about the real, because if the real is the ethic, you should be able to say something about it. We bring into the sessions the repressed or wounded ethic of the person. And as you know, the practitioners, they will mention specific times in their life that they push away that ethic because they needed to be identified with something, they needed to localize their bodies, they over-enjoyed, but they utilize that which is outside the session. So for me, I do not agree with that kind, you cannot do anything about it. Of course you can, they bring it there. You mark that, you don't mark only the suffering and the tragedy. You can mark like simple interventions, a good interpretation, again, Lacan says about interpretation, that it's nothing more than the creation, that's the word he used, the creation of a new signifier. That creation, it gives a new dimension to the binaries of anxiety, and these catch-22 traps with other way they will bring anxiety. And they simplify this supposedly mystified process. There is this guy, this Indian guy, his name is Sadhguru. I like his videos. And I would give you an example. He says about something else, but it's, I want you to see like a whole system that he had to deal with just by introducing a new signifier there. A very simple observation. He turned something poisonous, supposedly poisonous, into something vital. So he was speaking about Western medicine and the medicine of India. He spoke about the toxicity of mercury. And that's what our doctors say. It's poison, it's toxic. And he says actually it's not toxic. And he spoke about what mercury does on the body. And he says actually it's weight that causes problems. It's a heavy metal. So he thought of, he says, well, so it's a quantity. It is quantity. So because he spoke about its weight, it changed the whole system of not only experiencing the body, but that which is supposed to be avoided. And he gave a good use for it. And it's actually, you can use it for good purposes. Just by making this observation, says, well, it's not toxicity that kills you, it's the weight. So that, for me, that was an interpretation. He brought in a new signifier, not from his head, but what he experienced there in relation to his researchers, the body, and they different new word or appear there. I mean, okay, there are stuff to do with that, with this poison. So, beyond the father, I keep repeating that. That's the beyond the threshold. Beyond the threshold, there are three things which I mistakenly enumerate now. It's the act, mentioned in the seminar of the act. The death drive has this beyond, which is a poison, and we have to learn how to use it. It's excess. Somehow, we have to speak about it sometime. And beyond the father, there is harmony. We can use this word I put last time. It's like an anathema for psychoanalysts, because they like to speak about splits and there is no such thing. But yeah, when you have psychoanalysis in an ideal world, or somebody who wants to go their way or whatever, you reach your desire and maybe you experience your split, your suffering as a subject, but you are in harmony with your ethic. It's not something constant, it's something to utilize. It's not even a position. Desire has this, I don't remember who mentioned it, it was Chloe. It's good that it came from a woman. It has this flying effect. So what I like about this comment is it puts the body somewhere, light. Again, we talk about weight. So you are in harmony with your desire. Lacan speak, you can do without the name of the father as long as you know what to do with the real, which Penny referred to earlier. I agree with him. That's the Freudian Asceticism. That's what Lacan speaks in the first pages of the Ethics of Psychoanalysis. There are many things there that he mentions. Just remember this word that I keep repeating. Currently, a theologian that I spoke with, he got interested in Lacan and he's part of our group. He found a lot of similarities of how Lacan practiced, spoke, with some monks. There are in this, we call the Holy Mountain in Greece. If you are women, you are not allowed to go there. It's maybe because there are women there in the sense of the feminine. These people, they experience what I think is Teresa, the statue that Lacan, this feminine truism. But I would like to speak of feminine desire. There are a lot of mentions of these things sporadically in these two seminars that I mentioned. So, if you are in harmony and there is no division between the subject and its desire, what is dividing the subject? It's the responsibility of its act. And the act is not just one. In psychotherapy you have one act. You have to learn how to speak. You finish. You have to separate with that partner. That's not life. Life is calling you to do a series of facts. And you kind of perceive these binaries that they need the act. So responsibility of your act is what divides you when you are in terms with your desire. And responsibility, it's quite heavy thing. Again, I would go to provoke analysts to have a responsibility in speaking to the public and not remaining too silent. Not to the sessions, you can be silent in the sessions, but if you cannot provoke this kind of transference we spoke earlier, why somebody would go to analysis? It's not about money, it's not about the time. Actually, probably from your experience, these questions might come in the beginning, but when you are in line with an ethic, nobody asks about time. They know, they tell you, this thing might take time, but they don't care. There is something there that, it's not even about enjoyment. I mean, they feel this something, this magical. That's another mistake we do, because we speak a lot, we try to kind of minimize the strength of, we are caught actually in the capitalist discourse, we try to minimize the strength of the big other of science. So we try to explain. I say we, I include many people, so I'm just making we. So not to make it specific, that's not the point. We try to excuse in a sense, our position. We shouldn't do that. Psychoanalysis is not scientific in that way. It's a different kind of science. I mean, I'm okay with what I had in my analysis. I found even my cause and effects. I know that if I am not in line with my desire, I'm fucked up. I know that, I experienced that, because that's why I went to analysis. So we try to minimize the big other of science to give an excuse for our existence. And we say, oh, but they have no proofs for the serotonin theory. Who cares? People say it doesn't good. If they ask me, should I go to psychiatrists? They can go. I had analysts who go to astrologers afterward. They can go. I mean, they can do anything they want. They still come to analysis. That's fine. I mean, they can hold themselves from any point of reference. They can drop analysis. And, kind of like Eric Laurent's. I think he put it better than Lacan, to be honest. Lacan gave a few ways when analysis stops. He spoke about identification or whatever, desire. Desire is not something easy to achieve. You know, we don't put it into this idea, I follow my desire. I mean, we shouldn't do that. And Eric Laurent, because he's an analyst who practices with humanities, he says, well, simply, we stop when we feel okay with our lives. It's our responsibility to continue, if we want or not, but actually it's not even us, it's your suffering that will push you to your desire. Maybe you can hold yourself from the semblance, from points of reference in the culture, from, I don't know, from anything. Other people, they need desire, as in the case of certain perversive structures, that there is no use of the fetish. The only thing that holds their body and together in an orientation is desire. Unless, other than that, they get paranoid or they get disoriented and they seek the other that they will punish. The other thing I would say is about the ontology. I keep mentioning that because I think it's, well, don't take anything wrong, but it's kind of idiotic. I hear analysts say, oh, it's the ethic of psychoanalysis, it's the ontology. Well, it's not. Basically, ontology, what it does, it shifts the position of the binary. Oh, it's, we do that, but you are responsible for that. Something like that. It changes the ethic. I forgot how the other group of ethics is called, but one puts the emphasis on the ethic here and the other one here. So I don't agree with that. It's not about that. You create the empty space necessary and blame, and because that relates to morality and not the ethic. It has to do with good and evil. Nietzsche said that you must be a very evil man to speak about good and evil. I agree with that. That forecloses life itself. we shouldn't get trapped into these questions of good and evil. Not because we are immoral or unethical, but we're dealing with structures here, we are part of the process. And I also disagree, I speak about a lot of disagreements today. I just want to show that how language is trapped into enumerations. There are only two acts, for example, the act of psychoanalysis. Somebody said, the psychoanalytic act, the seminar. He said, when the analysant comes and when the analysant leaves. That's not. There are not only two acts, the act of life. That's the most important. It's the most difficult act to achieve, and I wouldn't consider actually suicide. That's the only act that does not fail. But life should be the act that does not fail, because there is something. One of my analysts, she was actually standing on the cliff like that, because here ethics, there was this identifications there, the stuff with the father, the mother, all these things that we hear in analysis. She was standing on a cliff. She wanted to suicide because the final ethic was, let's say, has been destroyed by a sadistic man. And her body was moved to the gap and jumped there. And she was looking, and then she burst into tears and she called her friend. And they had an hour conversation with her friend there on the cliff. The next day she called for analysis. So the gap has its use. You have to look at it. You don't have to jump, but that was an act of life. I didn't say here. She decided to go through another gap. They wanted to create conversations, and it's not without anxiety. So, questions? I'm getting people.
I have
yes.
something else. You made me think of options in a certain way. We can put suicide on the side of options. So in that, it's in a way when a subject is reduced to their options, which for me does something with the whole idea of what options, discourse of options, is a lethal discourse.
The destruction of the letter, I will go to that because there is a lot of fuss around the letter, which it has maybe something else that I'm talking about, but it's not what marks your body. What is the difference? Is that's the letter between the letter and the signifier that is attached on the body. When you make space and you elaborate these master signifiers and they have polysemousness and they have different use, then the letters appear. It's that moist on the word and it's not steady. It changes like moist. Like Kant gives a very nice example. In the same seminar that he speaks about a different type of letter, how you write that, Bruno? It's
L-E-T-T-R-E. Yeah.
La lettre. Yeah. L'amour. Or amour. The letter of love. The love.
Yeah.
Something like that.
L'amour.
Ouais.
L'amour.
Oh, yeah.
L'amour.
Whatever. You understand.
Yeah, l'amour. Yeah.
You can write. And in the same seminar, he speaks and he gives two exceptions. Somebody's smiling, so I'm funny. I'm glad. Okay. He speaks about the impossibility of a sexual relationship, but then it's very discreetly, he spends 2 pages of explaining, without saying it, about 2 exceptions. One that Richard Klein very nicely put into very simple words. That's what I like about analysis. Bring all this stuff and this, it's this. So it's a man who knows about life. He simplified it. He said if there is a possibility of a sexual relationship, it means that the other is not there. And then he said, there is a sexual relationship between psychotics. That's what Lacan says. And then he gives another example. When both partners that's beyond the values.